Well, hello there. So, I am attempting to write a book about my experiences. I am 35 years old and I have, I really strongly believe that this is one of my purposes. I don't think it's quite my only purpose, but I really feel like I have a voice and I have a message. I've been through some tough times in my life, and I've certainly have overcome a lot, and I'm finally getting to a point to where I am able to embrace everything that I was born to be. My strengths, my gifts, my aspirations. And one thing I've learned recently, and this was after taking my children's literature class, that I have a way not only with words spoken, but also writing. And I realized that, writing through growing up, I was never much of a book reader. I struggle with reading, and so I've always just kind of stayed away from it. But reading in this class has really inspired me, and it's opened my eyes to see how important books are and how much of an impact they have on people. And through my struggles, my trials and tribulation, I strongly believe that, the message of who I am and what I believe in is something that's really important in this world. Especially with, the suicides of, the gay youth. Yes, it gets better, but these teens are in this state, are going through complete darkness, and yes, it's great to tell them that it's going to get better, but they can't see that. All they can see is their misery, what they're in. They're in hell. And they need comfort, they need support, they need to know that people are there. And seeing somebody who they don't know, telling them it's going to get better, it's like seeing a movie. It looks great, it sounds great, but if it doesn't relate to you, it's not going to affect you. It's not going to change. And I think it's important for people like myself that have been through some really tough times. And I'm not saying that that there are not people out there that have been through more painful things. I know there has, but it's not about whose pain is more. It's not a game. It's not who has been hurt more. Pain is pain. And it's real, and it's rough, and being gay, or just being a person in general, being different, it's a tough world to live in, especially if you've got a heart, you care. It's at times it's an unkind and uncaring world, and I just strongly believe that I have a message, and that people need to believe in themselves. I'm not fully there, and I have a long way to go, but I'm finally starting to believe in myself, and starting to love myself, and it's a challenge. I have days where I look in the mirror and I look at myself right here, and I see fat, I see ugliness, but then there's days I look in the mirror and I see beautiful. There's a part of me deep down inside that inside and out, I know that I'm beautiful. But what I've been told all my life, that I'm not worth it, that I'm ugly, that I'm unlovable, I've believed what everybody has told me. And you get to a point where you've had enough. Listening to other people, internalizing that, personalizing it, it just gets old, and you just can't do it anymore. And I, for the longest time, was waiting for somebody to believe in me, waiting for somebody to come rescue me, and I'm 35 years old, and I realized that I would have waited forever, that it's got to be me, that I've got to believe in me, that I've got to love me. It's not going to come from anybody else. I'm trying hard every day One of the biggest things I struggle with is taking things personal, and that's where things have went downhill. When somebody hurts me, I take it as a direct relation to who I am as a person. I think it started very early on with my father. When he treated me a certain way, whether he called me a name or said I was going to hell, I believed it. I took it as a sign that I was unlovable. And, as I got older, I didn't cope with that. I didn't deal with it. I just started to believe it. And so each person that I encountered that hurt me, it just built on that, and until it gets to a point where that's who you are, And another thing I struggled with is, I've always known deep down inside that I have these gifts and abilities, and I've never really doubted that. I've certainly have doubted how other people respond to it, but I've known that these were gifts. I know that I have a heart of gold. I think what I struggled with is, especially with being gay and trying to date, is that scaring people. There's a great poem by, I can't pronounce her name, Marianne Williamson, and it's a quote about, and it's often confused with Nelson Mandela, but it's about hiding who you are because of other people's insecurities. And I've done that for the last 10 years. I've hid who I am because of other people. I thought that no one would accept me because of all my gifts. I thought it would just scare them away. And, I've come to realize if it's going to scare somebody away, one, it wasn't meant to be, and two, they're not worthy of it. You also, one thing I've learned is people are going to disappoint you, and if you put your faith in a human being, you're always going to fail. You've got to put your faith in yourself, and that's tough. I struggle daily. I catch myself, like on Facebook, somebody will post something, and it doesn't necessarily have to be related to me. And I just take offense to it, and I just have to check myself and say, that's them, and especially when somebody does something directly to you, whether it's you're dating somebody and they break up with you, whatever it is, when somebody does something to you, it really, honestly, and unless, you've done something to warrant it, more times than not, you've not done anything, I've really struggled with dating. I haven't had much luck, and I've taken responsibility for that when I shouldn't have. I took again, I've internalized it and come to the conclusion that I'm unlovable, and that's not true. I am a wonderful person. I'm a wonderful guy. I have a heart of gold. I would do anything for the person I loved. My friends and my family, especially my family, they're gold to me. And when you're in that circle, I would do anything. And that's rare. My sensitivity, I've always struggled being different. I've never really felt like I fit in. Growing up, being gay, I've felt I was different. And, even in the gay community, obviously my size, I don't fit into, I'm not a twink, in the bear community, I don't always fit in there either, because, a lot of times, like you go on Scruff and, Growler, it's all masculine, and I'm not saying I don't think I'm masculine, but I know that I'm both. I'm not afraid to show both the masculine and feminine, but yet, I have these insecurities, and, and I go on there, especially when you read profiles like masculine only or straight acting, and it just reminds me, what happened to the day of just being you? When did it become wrong to be who you are. Whether that's you're flamboyant, or you're a drag queen, or you like leather, or whatever it is you like. Just be you. Be your authentic self. But we live in a world where we have to be somebody else. The other person is better. We don't tell each other that it's okay to be, if you're a bear, you don't necessarily have to be uber masculine, like, be yourself, just love yourself. I mean, and so I've struggled with that, fitting in. And I've realized that I don't want to fit in. I want to be just myself. And I realized that eventually things will come around, and, I'm slowly getting back on my feet. And I'm just so thankful, of the people I have in my life. And, one thing I've learned about this whole experience and going through depression and going through this hard time this last couple of years is reaching out. And I think, that's a struggle for somebody who's going through depression, going through a hard time, especially if you don't have a great support system, is, the more you get into that depression, the negativity, and those thoughts in your head, the more it plays against you. And sometimes just reaching out to somebody. And, I've been really thankful for some people that have come into my life. And, I probably would be where I am today. I honestly probably would have killed myself if it hadn't been from some certain people in my life that have been there for me. And, and some people might not necessarily understand, about somebody who kills themselves or even thinks about it. For me, it was never, I didn't ever want to die. I just wanted the pain to end. It gets to be a point to where, if you do the same things and are doing it over and over and nothing change, and you just constantly hurt and are feeling full of pain, you just want it to stop. And, you feel so alone, and the more depressed you get, the more you spiral out of control. And if there doesn't seem to be any hope for it to change, it's just common to think about that, And I'm really thankful that I didn't turn to suicide. But I know that I could have very easily have done it, And so I really feel for anybody who's struggling right now. There's help. There are people out there who care. I know it's easily when somebody hurts you, it's especially when you are just surrounded by it, or you've been hurt by certain people in your life, like a parent or a good friend or whoever it is. You start to think that, that's all is out there. You think everybody out there is out to hurt you. So you start to hide and you start to pull away. And I did that for so many years, and I hid who I was and hid in my room, and, I was just as miserable as before. And, I'm finally seeing that the world is wonderful. It's full of wonderful people, that will embrace who you are inside. I'm very artistic and very creative, and for a very first time, not only do I believe I deserve wonderful things, I feel it and I know it. And that not only do I feel these things about myself, I feel like the world is my oyster. I can do anything that I want to do, and so can you. But a lot of times we don't tell you what you can do, it's what you can't do. And I've had so many people try to take things away from me, like spirituality. And that's one thing recently that, in being gay, people don't understand what religious persecution can do to you, especially as a gay person. To take that away from somebody, that's that's spiritual abuse, and you don't realize what that does to a person, to take away their God, to take away their happiness, their afterlife. And I'm just done with that. God didn't put me in this earth to hate me. Jesus was not a hateful person. These people who persecute us and call us names and think we should die and speak like they know Jesus, they don't. Jesus would not approve any of this. Jesus would be right next to us and be our champion. And this whole, one religion is, what? If God is this wonderful creature, wonderful being that made all these wonderful things, why would he have a path that would just one path that would take it to him? This world is such a diverse place. He would create different paths so that each person could get to where they needed to go. There's just so many things that this world needs to hear, and that's one of them. If you're gay and you believe that, you hear these things, and these Christian people, and it's not all Christians are bad. It's there's good and bad in everything. But if you constantly are hearing people say that you're bad or you're going to hell, you start to believe it. And what these children need are people like myself to say, no, that's not the truth. This life should be about love, and so often not. It's the opposite. It's hate. And we talk about disease and we talk about cancer. I mean, hate is a form of cancer. And I am a warrior of love, and and those who look down upon me, I feel bad. Anybody that's not able to embrace that, I feel bad. And I hope at one point, those who hate and who feel these things, I hope you change, because it's not a way of life. And those who are picked on, made fun of, called names, you're beautiful. Everybody's beautiful, and I'm really sorry that we live in a world that you're not told that. And just, there are people out there who are kind and wonderful, and it's tough. And I'm not going to lie to you and say that I still struggle, and it's still a daily. There are days I don't want to get out of bed. There's days I'm reminded of my past. But I know that I'm not bound to that past anymore, and that my future is bright, and that I've gone through this for a reason, that through my struggles and my overcoming it, that I can help other people. And for the first time, I really strongly believe that is my purpose, that I deserve wonderful things, and I deserve to take care of myself. I'm great at loving other people, but I'm not so good at taking care of myself, and I'm learning to do that. It just takes time, and sometimes you just gotta hold on, and and eventually it does get better. I've seen that 2 years ago when I first moved back to Michigan from Ohio. Things were bad. I didn't think things would ever change, but they did. And it wasn't overnight. 2 years ago I was homeless. I didn't have any money. My sister, she let me live with her and her wonderful family and my nieces and nephew. And I'm finally going back to school. I just, completed a semester, got 2 A's, I granted I don't have a car, but it doesn't matter. I have this wonderful family, and I believe in myself, and that's what matters. And things are so much better, now than they were 6 months ago, a year from now, and I think about in the future, even 6 months from now, things will get even better. But So I guess that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Oh, it's not easy letting your emotions out. But thank you for watching, and